Hi everyone, Linda Heldman here for Canadian Beats. I am here at the Open Road Recordings office, also RGK Entertainment. So it's dual purpose, right?
Yeah.
And I have with me Lindsay and Amber, who are going to talk to me about the how the music gets out to people. Thank you for doing this. I appreciate it. And this is all part of our new feature called Inside the Music, where we get to take a look at what it takes to get the music out to people, the managers, the producers, all that cool stuff. So thank you so much for doing this. This is great.
Cool.
So Lindsay, let's start with you. Would you like to tell us a bit about yourself?
Great. Thank you. So I am currently the manager of digital marketing and brand partnerships for Open Road and RGK Entertainment. I worked for 5 years at Universal Music Canada in the digital marketing department, where I primarily focused on social media and brand building. And then I moved over to RGK and focused more on management with an amazing roster who I work really closely with. So I help them with all of their social media. I work closely with a girl named Mary. We do their digital marketing campaigns. If there's a release, advertising campaigns, as well as streaming is a big part of my job. So getting our artists on playlists, figuring out how we engage with the Spotify's, Apple Musics of the world in our campaigns, whether it's building out playlists with our artists and promoting it that way. Also work with different brands. So for example, like a Coors Banquet, because they're very integrated into the country space. Mm-hmm. What can we do with them, with our artists, trying to get them on board for videos, for tours, for any sort of promotion that makes sense for them. So that's another part of my job. And yeah, and then we also own a white label site called topcountry.ca. So,
Awesome site.
Yeah,
I love it. I spend a lot of time there.
Good. And you know, media, it's hard to get a ton of media for our country artists, especially in like the US space. So Top Country's been a really great piece of content for us to get out all of the incredible Canadian talent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot. Mm-hmm. And before we started rolling, I mean, we were saying that the Open Road roster is just so fantastic.
Yeah.
I mean, it's everyone that's brought in is just, their music is great. The personalities are just fantastic. Everybody really seems to get along, which is cool.
Yeah, it's a big family, Open
Yeah.
Road and RGK. I think we have a strong team here. There's about 11 people on the team, 11 or 12. With the team, and then you have all of the acts on top of that, and I think it's a pretty solid crew. So yeah.
So Amber, would you please tell us about yourself?
Sure. My name's Amber Bell, and I handle the radio promotions for the company. I guess my official title is the manager of national promotions, and I started doing this in 2007 at a independent radio promotion company. And just recently in early 2016, I joined the Open Road team. And previously I dabbled into different genres doing the radio promotion stuff, but I made the decision to focus a little more in the country world because it's just such an amazing genre, the people are awesome, and I wanted to really focus in and just see what I could accomplish and do in this genre. So yeah, so my day-to-day is releasing the singles from our roster, getting them added to radio stations across Canada, working with the stations on different things, whether it's promo tours, interviews, shows that our artists may be playing, that the station's putting on, and hopefully getting the songs moved up the charts and top 10, top 20, all of that fun stuff. So that's kind of my overall job with lots of different things mixed in there. So yeah.
I know it's not on my question list, but how do you get a song to number one?
Well, as of late, there's been a Canadian artist at number one in Canada on country radio has been a rare occurrence. Mm-hmm. But this year alone, two Canadian artists have gone number one and that'd be Dallas Smith and High Valley. And those are within the last couple of months. And so it's encouraging to see, and it's encouraging to see that that's happening more often, because our talent here in Canada is just so amazing, and you'll hear it from the industry, from people at radio stations. It's never been better. So I think we'll see it happen more often. I'd love for it to happen more often. But you know what? It's the best song wins at the end of the day. It's not an easy thing to get, and that's where I think I come in and my work comes in. But at the end of the day, it's the artists, what they accomplish, the music they write, and I make the phone calls, and there's a lot of different things that happen, like whether it's what can we do to make the artists around that time when the song will be peaking, what can we do, maybe a bit of a social media campaign, or if they're out on the road, they're on tour, showing a little bit of activity from them. But at the end of the day, like I said, it's just a natural thing. The best song wins, and you just hope that it'll happen more often for our Canadian acts. So
absolutely,
yeah,
because there's so much good talent up here.
Yes,
definitely,
for
definitely.
sure. So
Okay, so I know it could be a very deep question, but do the best you can. So what is the process to get the music out to the digital sites like Spotify and iTunes, and on your side to the radio stations?
yeah.
So essentially, once it's been uploaded and added to those partners, we basically work really closely with our distributor, Universal Music, for majority of our roster, to ensure that our partners are aware that the single is coming out or the album is coming out. We can hope for featuring, but really it's up to them kind of what ends up getting up there. The iTunes store and the Apple Musics and Spotify's, there's limited real estate, so we have to try to pitch it as best as we can of why we think that it deserves that featuring. And then it's also just playlisting, especially in the world of Spotify and Apple Music, is really important, and because it's a great discovery tool, especially for the up-and-coming artists.
Absolutely.
So it's building relationships with those partners and getting them to know the artists, bringing them in for in staff performances, for meetings, just getting those partners to feel as much a part of the project as we feel. And then just, pitching it. It's very similar to radio. I mean, Amber and I work so closely together because both of our staff that we looked at religiously, help each other kind of get access to those playlists and get access to those stations, and so it's just really working closely with those partners and constantly updating them on tour dates, updating them on charting. Sales is a big thing. And then, there's some artists that there's people who program playlists who they just really believe in. Like, one artist that we have, Jessica Mitchell, everyone, once they hear her, they love her.
Absolutely.
And they believe in her as much as we do. And she's been lucky. She's had access to, people have been adding her to playlists really early. She's on one of the biggest U.S. playlists right now on Spotify called Wild Country. Working on Whiskey Was as well. But it's just, the programmer there really, really loves and believes in her. And so some people it isn't as much of a build-up in, okay, it's top 10 now, let's get them on that playlist, because they want to help it grow quickly as well. So,
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
And I guess as far as country radio goes and releasing new music and taking new singles, it's not far off of the process with the streaming partners. If you have a brand new act that you're introducing for the first time, it's a little bit of a different process, where it's exactly that. You want to do something like the Cross Canada radio tours that happen a lot, which involves going into the radio stations, either playing for the staff, playing on air, showcasing that artist's talent. It's something we did when we launched the Hunter Brothers. And we did pretty much across the country, went into as many radio stations as we could, and we really wanted to show, they have such an interesting story about them.
They do.
5 brothers, 5 farmers, I think almost all of them played professional hockey, very disciplined, but also the nicest group of guys you've ever met. And we really wanted radio to know that, yes, we have a song from them, but here's their story and here's who they are, and really get them invested. So that really goes a long way. So that's a process, and that's something we released the single and then we put them out on the road. So that really helped push that song along, rather than just releasing it and hoping that it'll do well. If we're releasing a single from an act that has a lot of singles already out, or a lot of familiarity in the market already, there's still a process of setting it up, getting the programmers familiar with that music, so that when they bring it into their music meetings, it's in there right away. The day that we'll release music to a program called DMDS, and that distributes the song digitally across the country to every radio station, every programmer, every music director, and the song will go into the meeting. And you just hope, that's where my job comes in, and the phone calls and the relationships that not only that I've built over the years, but that, Ron Kitchener has built in Open Road, and helps, move those songs through those meetings, and the relationships we have built have really come in handy there, right? So, and then there's the process of each week. It's working the single, making the phone calls, checking in, giving them stats that Lindsay will have from streaming. So we're, like Lindsay said, every week we're talking. She's providing me weekly streams on that song, or downloads, or where they're coming from, and I'm able to kind of pick that apart and provide it to the radio station. So information is key when working a single. So it's being prepared with all of that ammo, and then it's also working closely with Lindsay on the social media, and Mary as well from our team on the social media side of things, to line up everything we do to help launch that single, so that fans are also aware. So that, because requests are a really big thing. If a radio station is receiving requests for that song, that helps you even more, because I can make all the phone calls I want, but if nobody wants to hear the music, then so
it helps with the new song, and let's use the Roadhammers for example.
Sure.
And some radio station out there is not playing the latest single. Then they call and say, when are you going to start playing it?
Yeah, that's the thing. And you can do, that's where, on social media you can encourage, fans to call in, call your local radio station, and then on the other side, if that market is, if they're not playing the song, but I have a really good sales story, or a streaming story, or we just booked a show in that market, then that's stuff I'm providing to them every week to be, a line item, list of, here's why we want you to play this song, and hopefully that all comes together and helps convince the station. So,
and it's got to be hard because the radio stations are being inundated with new songs every week.
Oh yes, yeah.
So that process of them picking, well, gee, we only have 5 spots that we can add a new song, but we've got 20 songs to choose from.
Yes.
There's 15 songs that won't get picked.
Yeah.
That whole process in itself has to be very frustrating in some ways.
Yeah, and that's why it is hard for artists that are independent, that have to make those phone calls themselves. And I've had multiple conversations over my short career with lots of independent artists that it's frustrating. It's hard to phone a radio station, cold call a radio station, and that's but that's part of the grind at the beginning of that career, and building the relationships with your local radio station, so that when it comes time to officially, launch an album or a single or what have you, having the local support from where you're from is so key, because other markets will look at that. If you're from Saskatchewan, is Saskatchewan radio supporting you? If they are, check, that's really good. But there is no doubt such a massive amount of Canadian music out right now, and it is so incredibly competitive, and that's why working within a team like we have, where information is being passed along every day, our publicist picks up something, she'll forward it along, and it'll be tied to a specific market. I use that right away. If Lindsay gets something really interesting, or a playlist picks up, right away I'm taking that, and it's the same thing for her. If I get a bunch of markets on a song, or an increase at radio on the charts, we're sharing that information. So it's just using that information, and at the end of the day, again, I said it before, but best song wins. And it's just if it can be hard, and it can be you can feel like if you don't get the ad that week and you get beat out, you just don't give up, and if you have the information and you have the momentum, just
plugging
keep going.
away.
Yeah.
You were talking about songs, the publicist.
Yeah.
And I recently got in my inbox, and I did a piece on this, was Jessica Mitchell's, when she was added to the Wild Country playlist, and it was doing so well, it hit top 50. And that had a lot to do with your side of the job.
Yeah.
Which it's great. I find it fascinating. I really do, because you work together, but it's just in different media.
Yeah.
Which is really good.
Yeah, a lot of what we do is very similar, but we're working two different worlds, but there is a lot of similarities between what we do, and it's cool. It's really
so
cool.
when the stats come in, where albums are charted at radio, does that influence the stats that come in on your end at all?
It does, for sure. I mean, it depends on the song. I mean, for example, with Jessica Mitchell, she's doing, right now we're focusing on streaming, and she's doing well sales-wise, but the radio story hasn't really begun yet with her new music. Oftentimes when a song is getting into the top 20, top 10, you'll see that with the streaming analytics, you'll see it go up at the same time. Like you'll see, okay, wow, there's a huge spike in monthly listeners. Let's see where they are. And Spotify is amazing with this, with their analytics tools. They have this program called Fan Insights for artists, and basically you can see like daily listeners. You can see how many people right now in the world are listening to Dean Brody at that moment.
Wow.
You can see
like right there at that very moment.
It'll be like
Oh my
you'll see a
goodness.
fluctuation of the number. It's
Wow.
crazy. You see so the top markets for a particular song, as well as the top markets for that artist. So this is another amazing stat for Amber, because I can say, wow, so Edmonton was the 5th top market, and all of a sudden it went up to the 3rd top market because it's being played on the radio, or there was a show there, or whatever it is. Or on the other side, Edmonton really likes that song, they should add that song to their radio. So so it depends kind of on the song, but so oftentimes, so especially sales-wise, you'll see a spike in sales when the radio is going up. Whereas if it's streaming, sales, it's not as much correlated, because people are obviously a streamer and they're not necessarily a purchaser. But sometimes we use those sales because for some reason everyone is buying a song and it's doing really well sales-wise, or doing really well streaming-wise. So that's why it should get added for radio.
So do those numbers actually influence when tours come along? Oh, we've got to stop in Edmonton because they really like them. Or me living up in the wilds of Sudbury, it's like, what does it take to get certain bands to Sudbury?
So it's interesting you say that, because I was actually just in Nashville for a conference, and especially more so globally in North America. I was with a talent buyer in the DC area for country, and she had heard of a couple of our artists from Spotify. So I was going through the artists that she had heard of. So it was Jessica, and I think it was Jessica, Blackjack Billy, and the Roadhammers. And it was interesting because they had a crazy amount of not a crazy amount, but a significant amount of monthly followers in DC.
Great.
So it was like that was one of their top 15 markets. So it was like, okay, well, if you're booking a club that's 800 people in DC and they have 2,500 monthly listeners there, then maybe it would be worth it to go down there. Or Dean has a ton of monthly listeners in Oslo, in Norway, which is interesting because that's all of a sudden we're seeing a spike in Norway with country, and that's kind of across the board, but Dean in particular, it's like 6,000 or 5,500, 6,000 people are frequently listening to Dean in Norway.
That is cool. I would love that. I would love your job to be able to see the stats and all where they peak, and that would be cool.
I love it. I honestly, I've become a crazy analytics nerd. Like I'm like so cool. Yeah. And you know, the Spotify in general, like the guy who programs Spotify for country, like the head of it, his name's John Marks, and he, a huge part of his job is bringing the genre to the different countries and integrating our artists into their playlists, because the genre as a whole is just growing and growing, especially like if you look at the UK and Australia, it's just getting bigger and bigger. And a big part of that is the streaming services. There's no borders anymore. You don't need to be being played on every radio station in Oslo for there to be country fans, because they're discovering it through Spotify. So it's really exciting. It's a really exciting time for the country music genre as a whole, and hopefully our artists will be part of that surge, and it's nice to see.
All right, so we're going to wrap up, but my final question to you is, for someone who is interested in getting into this aspect of the music industry, what is the education that you need to do this?
Well, I was fortunate because my program at Western MIT offered an internship program. So I was able to get an internship at Universal Music Canada in my last semester of school. And I was fortunate because of the timing and someone leaving that I was able to get a job in their digital marketing department. But the one thing that I've really learned is that it is a really small industry, and it is just, especially given how it's shrinking in a lot of ways. There's different jobs, but it's changing. So there aren't a crazy amount of jobs available. So it's so important to intern if you can, if it's available through your schooling, to just go for coffee with people, to go to conferences, to network as much as you possibly can, because as I said, it's a small industry, and people are really willing to help each other. So get to know people, and because it's all about really who you know and what's available, and and
like for me, I know I took a program at Durham College called Music Business Management, and there's more that was in 2005. That program still exists, but there's so many now across the country, and these programs are designed to kind of introduce you to all different areas of the music industry, whether it's artist management or the production side of things, the more technical side of things. I ended up enjoying more of the promotion side of things, and then from there, it's all about, what Lindsay's saying, it's all about taking it into your own hands and building those relationships, because at the end of the day, it's those connections you make that will help you move forward. So, and I think, like from when I got my first my internship that turned into my job right after college, it was the things within my resume that helped me get there wasn't so much the graduated with this or accomplished this in the academic side, but it was more, what did I take on myself, and then who you end up talking to, and it also helps to build those relationships, because all it takes is an opening to happen and someone to recommend your name. That's all it takes, and that's how this job popped up for me, was a recommendation by somebody that I know. So that's what it is, and it's just getting out there. It can be intimidating, it can be scary to think about, oh my gosh, but we started out not knowing anybody. And that's it. All it is, and people in this industry are willing to help. So.
Yeah, and that's the thing. If you just get in somewhere, or you do those internships, and you become really passionate about something, like at Universal, country was the genre that really spoke to me, and the person who hired me and brought me into this job works with me there, and he saw that in me, and he was like, she'd be great for this. And
Yeah.
I think if you're really passionate about it, it's an obvious thing, and the job that will make the most sense for you, that you'll really thrive in, is becomes obvious. So, and the people, they want to help you get there. So
Yeah, for sure.
yeah.
And you have your good days and your bad days, but the good days, it doesn't feel like work, right?
Oh,
No.
yeah.
No, I spent the day on Monday doing promo, and she spent Tuesday doing promo with the Roadhammers.
Oh.
And spending a day with the Roadhammers is
Definitely doesn't feel like work.
no.
Well, I did see them earlier today.
Yes.
And
So you gotta, you
yeah,
know.
yeah. I got my hugs from all the boys, and that just
Yeah.
made my day. It was
Yes.
great. It was
It's a
great.
lot of fun. So no complaints.
And they actually behaved in the interview.
Oh.
Like, yeah,
That's nice.
there will be some outtakes in it. I will guarantee there will be
yeah.
outtakes. But because it's them and they're just hilarious.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. Yeah. Pretty much. Not surprised.
We're blessed with a very funny roster for the most part. Like,
Yeah.
some great characters.
Yes, for sure.
Gee, I wonder what an office party's like. Crazy?
CCMA party. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun.
Awesome.
No comment.
So it really helps if you're in school.
Yeah.
You get into the courses that will get you into the business. Volunteer as much as you can.
Yeah.
Make the contacts in the places you can make the contacts, and take it from there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty. With the Durham program, I have 2 people I know that went through it.
Oh, cool.
And one is working in the industry, the other one isn't.
Yep.
And yeah, it's tough.
It is. It really is. It's. There's a good group of us from the year that I graduated. That we're all we run into each other all the time, but it's something you saw the people that made it through, and then the ones that decided not to, and it's not. It quickly becomes a reality of how much this industry is the extracurricular stuff you have to do to help carve your path, right? So things don't really just come to you. And that's not saying if someone didn't make it through, they didn't. That's what they expected, but you really have to just create your own path and fight your way through, and be willing to pay your dues. I mean, the first thing I did in my internship was pack Jimmy Rankin CDs to send to radio, 100 and some odd of them. And I did it wrong and had to open them all up and repack it.
Oh,
But,
no.
and it was like, I'll never forget it, but it's one of those things where it's like, you do it. And I was like, cool, I'm excited. You have to be excited about all of those opportunities. And you might be mailing something, you might be photocopying something, but you're working towards, hopefully something. Just keep working and keep going, and you never know where it's going to take you. So
It all means something somewhere down the road.
yeah,
Definitely.
Just cool.
So
All right, ladies, I will let you get on with your day, and I apologize for taking up so much time, but I really
worries.
enjoyed this conversation.
Yeah,
It's
it's
been great. We'll see you at CMAOs and CCMAs and all
Yes,
that fun stuff.
for sure.
And now that I know who you are,
face to a
definitely.
name.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
I hope everyone's enjoyed this as much as I've enjoyed talking to these ladies and bringing this to you. And thank you so much, Lindsay and Amber.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. And Linda Helpman for Canadian Beats.